In this particular live stream, I want to discuss some events that have occurred over the last week. We had a lot of virtue signaling. It was good, Black and Proud. We had a lot of virtue signaling on social media. Now, and for those of you who spend less time on here, it's probably for the best, because you have people who literally spent their Thanksgiving arguing with other people on social media. That is what Joy Taylor did, and that's what some of these other female blue check marks did. You know, the ones who sit at home every night with a bottle of wine and they're on their phones, either looking for a reason to argue with somebody or they're posting thirst traps because they're lonely. They constantly want to blame others for why they are not in relationships. I'm sorry. You got to look yourself in the mirror for that. You need to really try to understand why you have not been able to secure the relationship that you want. You have not been able to secure the relationship that you want because you're not relationship material. And what happens is when you have unhappy people who are alone, they're not in relationships. A lot of times what people got to understand is you have people who they're just not used to prosperity. They want to be able to control the relationship. And the thing is that you have a lot of guys that are starting to wake up and they're seeing the actions of these women, how they're just so filled with anger and bitterness. And they're so arrogant because they think that everybody's just going to be on their side. No one's going to challenge them. And then when the men do challenge them, they want to call them incels. They want to talk about how they live at home with their mothers.
If these type of women had chosen good men in their prime years, they wouldn't be so bitter. And off topic, no more twerking in restaurants.
Exactly, no more twerking in restaurants. That's the thing, man, Ricky. They don't choose good men until they're older and their kids are grown and out the house and they're left to raise the grandkids. That's when they won't change. But when they're in their prime, when they still got their bodies, they don't want to change. They still going to date the same men that they've been dating. They're attracted to a certain type of guy, and if he's not that, then they want nothing to do with him. And then they wonder why the guys that they do choose, mess with other women, possibly put hands on them. But you have to look at who you are choosing to give your energy to, who you are choosing to date. But the accountability just isn't there anymore. Like the stream people, I tell a lot of these women, these modern day females, this all the time. I say, listen, man, you can't always blame the men. You got to look yourself in the mirror. You have to look yourself in the mirror, and you have to figure out that all that I'm independent, I can do everything on my own, that stuff is fading. No one's caring. And especially a lot of men aren't caring. Now, the men who are destitute, the men that are broke, the men that are bummy, of course, they're going to accept it because they have to accept it if they need some place to stay. They need a woman to bum off of. You should be a bum repellent if you are a woman who considers yourself higher quality, if you consider yourself to be educated, successful. But a lot of times these women still end up with these guys they're trying to build up. And then they wonder why that guy has no ambition whatsoever to be successful. A lot of these arrogant, bitter, feminist-minded women are all over the place. They're on social media virtue signaling. They're constantly trying to call out any man that doesn't have the same opinion as them. And then again, they wonder why men aren't as masculine as they used to be. Men aren't as masculine as they used to be. One, because their livelihoods could be altered by just you making an accusation about them, or you trying to cancel them. So a lot of guys are very reluctant to be masculine in the workplace. They have to sort of dumb down their masculinity, which is why I could never work in corporate America or work in a workplace where it's going to be majority women, especially if those women have a chip on their shoulder, who constantly feel like in their minds, they're men, and you have to deal with that every day. And that's what has become of society. A lot of these guys don't feel like being masculine, being a man, it really means much anymore because they know that their livelihoods could be at stake. You got guys that are living with women that are paying majority of everything. And some of these guys, in their mind, they'll rationalize it by saying, well, you know what? I get a lot of women. You know, I have relations with a lot of women. I have a lot of different women I deal with. I got a lot of game. Okay. Well, has the game translated to finances? Have you been able to game yourself into a better financial situation? So you're dealing with these feminist-minded women who already have a chip on their shoulder, who show you no respect. Let me tell you what game is. If I don't care how many women you have, if they're still disrespecting you, kicking you out the house whenever they feel like it, putting hands on you, obviously that game isn't strong enough to deal with these women because you don't understand how deeply rooted their issues go. A lot of these women have deeply rooted issues. Some of them have identity issues. Some of them have daddy issues. Some of them have mommy issues. Because yes, there are women with mommy issues. And they don't know what it takes to have a successful relationship because you have those that never really saw it growing up, you know, never really saw it. Now, I will say that you have women, right, who grew up in, you know, 2-parent households. You would say, well, she had a father figure, but she still was out doing this and that. That is true. But again, there is an exception to every rule. There is an exception to every rule, people. Not everything is going to be cut and dry, black and white. There's going to be some times where things don't always
The conditioning
align.
of today's women has led to more men waking up to reality and focusing on themselves. Become the best version of you, fellas.
Absolutely, AJ. And these guys are waking up. And women are starting to notice it. Have y'all noticed that there are more women who want to have these type of conversations? You see, when we had these conversations, they mocked us. You know, they claimed we were bashing them. But now you're seeing women looking and saying, hey, why are more men embracing this conversation? Why are more men going their own way? Why are men embracing the red pill? What is the red pill? What is the red pill? They call us incels, even though that term has become more and more commercialized. We used to call them TFLers, you know, true force loners. I just hope that a lot of young men are very aware of where society is heading and they avoid the pitfalls. Because again, this is why I say that these women are arrogant and are bitter.
Ill will Jaye salute. Scissor.
Salute, Oakland Raiders. Thanks, man. And I do think that's happening. I have young guys that call the show all the time, that watch the content, and they understand. You got guys that are in high school right now who have a long road ahead of them. I wish I understood a lot of this stuff when I was 18. Some of the stuff I did understand when I was about 20, 21. But I still was sort of in the clouds on certain other things. But that's why life is about learning. This is why they want to shut us up. This is why they want to do hit pieces about, you know, who are these guys say that they're going their own way? What is that? This is a hate group. It's a bunch of guys that don't like women, so they want to complain about them. See, that's their mentality. If you don't go along with the program, like I've noticed some of these males do, I've noticed that some of these males are going along with the program Because again, it could be their job, it could be their relationships. Because what I've noticed too is you got women who will talk about, oh, I'm not a feminist. But as soon as you talk about something benefiting men, they all of a sudden want to insert, well, women could use this, or women should be a part of it. And, and it's like, we're talking about the benefit of these men who need it. There's a lot of young men out here, unfortunately, that are in a very bad situation, and no one seems to care about them. So when a group of men come together and we speak about these issues, just because we're not putting women first, all of a sudden we're marginalized and called names. Why do you think that is? What's good, Wanda? Make sure y'all like the stream too. So I want people to understand that no matter how much they try to shame you, there's nothing wrong with walking your own path and thinking for yourself. Like, when I talk about the political landscape right now, I tell people that I am a centrist who leans more right, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I am a Republican or a conservative. But I do support a lot of conservative principles, right? They will try to put me in that category of a Republican. Just because I say that Trump be a better president than Biden, all of a sudden you're a Republican, you're conservative, you're a Trump supporter. They immediately want to write you off. They don't understand logic. They don't understand that you have options. All of us as people have options. We have different paths we could take in life. We all should not have to be sheep and follow in the same path, because a lot of people are walking off of a cliff. The confusion, the hatred, the bitterness, the angst. We're all in a very bad spot, and I hope people understand that before it's too late. I hope people understand that before it's too late. Because we are in very trying times right now. And men have to be more aware, because we are the builders of society, whether people like it or not. It is up to us to create and upkeep the infrastructure, to innovate. The creativity is being sapped out of young people due to complacency, due to laziness, to the point to where you got people who think it's a bad thing to be competitive. There's nothing wrong with being competitive. Being competitive is what creates corporations, what creates technology. I wish people understood that. But your bitter, arrogant, modern, feminist-minded female does not understand that. They only understand, how is something going to benefit me, and how is it going to get me where I want to go? That's all they seem to care about. I care about the survival of the people who will come after me. It's easy to give up on the next generation and say, I'm just going to live my life and be a deviant and go out and just spend money and chase women and, just do whatever, support all types of policies that is going to be detrimental to us, to everybody. It'll be easy for me to do it. A lot of people have done that. They've totally given up and say, you know what, if it fails, it fails, right? I'm just not one of those people. I'm not. Do you know how much hatred will be brought upon our generation if we allow that?
If you want the best of the best, you have to be willing to compete for it. Nothing in this life is truly free, and no one deserves anything.
Thanks, AJ. That's a good point. And that's what I want people to understand, is that having a different mindset and opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We should compete. We should want to be better than the next person, do something, but all in the belief of building something that'll be better for everybody. Doesn't mean you have to live your life for other people. It just means that you're looking at what's around you and you want to preserve it. You don't want to destroy it. Because now I may not have children, but there are some of you that listen to me. You have kids. What are they going to have when they become adults? What world is going to be left to them? If you care. I know some of you probably don't, which is fine. But again, they will look upon us as failures. They will look upon us as the ones who destroyed everything. I wouldn't want that to be my legacy. I'd want people to praise me, not be, feel some sort of way towards me because I help allow the destruction of a society. And I think that societies cannot be functional, cannot be great if the women aren't. Because the women are yes, they're having the children, but they are teaching the culture. They are there for a reason. They are there to use their femininity to be a part of helping to bring apart greatness. But a lot of women are discarding their femininity because they have envy of men. They want to be men. They're envious of them for whatever reason. And I just think that is what's tearing them apart. That is what has them melting down. And that is the truly sad thing about our society.